This is the latest TRX4 from Traxxas. It's the TRX4 Sport, ready to run, equipped with the Traxx. This is a really cool and brand new model from Traxxas, so we're gonna check it out, take a look at the body, the chassis, the Traxx, and then we'll drive it. If you're a fan of Traxx, then you're probably familiar with the Traxxas Traxx that came out a few months ago that you can equip on your TRX4. Now, Traxxas has just released this TRX4 Sport that comes with the Traxx pre-installed, so there's no tires. Instead, you get the Traxx. Now, this truck is really interesting because, for one thing, this TRX4 Sport is not like the other Sport that you can get ready to run. The chassis may be, but not the body. This is more of an enhanced body that resembles what's included with the Sport unassembled kit. With these Traxx looking so cool on this truck, it's great to see the enhanced Sport body included. So the Sport body is different in that it includes plastic molded pieces. So we have a front grille, and then there's also a rear tailgate. We have a plastic snorkel here, as well as mirrors. Up top, we have this really cool rack up here, and then there's some scale accessories that go along in the back of the truck. This body also includes actual light buckets on all four corners, and there's a light kit inside this body. There's also this top LED bar to go along with it. Now, these windows are also clear, and then these fenders here are painted black. On the original TRX4 Sport ready to run, those were blue with decals included if you wanted them to be black. So this body is a few steps up. It has a bit more going on attached to it and on it for the scale realism and for the looks, and to add the tank tracks underneath it looks really good over that original Sport body. Now, the body's all nice and dandy, but the real highlight on this truck are these really cool tracks on all four corners. Now, these tracks, like we mentioned earlier, have been available for a little while now for TRX4 owners, and they're pretty cool how they work. They have this rubber track going around, they use bushings inside, and there is some shock absorption, so there's flex involved in using these tracks, but ultimately you have this nice big contact patch to use out there on the trail or the different terrain that you'll be driving on. Now, one of the first things that you see when you take this model out of the box is going to be this warning. This is also included with the Traxx package if you purchase those separately. And essentially this warning says that the truck must be used in first gear if you're using a TRX4 with the 2-speed transmission, as well as the Traxx must be used on the truck with the diffs locked if you have a TRX4 model with the adjustable diffs. Now, if we take the body off, you can get a good look underneath at the wiring for the LEDs. It's a really clean setup where the wires are buttoned up pretty nicely. So these light buckets are molded plastic that are screwed and attached to the body. They're really secure. In the rear end, we have two taillights. In the front end, we have two white headlights and then side yellow lights. If you notice going up top, that's the wire that powers our LED light bar that's above the windshield. And then lastly is our controller here in the back with this wire lead that will need to get plugged into the power module here on the chassis each time you want to use the lights when you install the body. If you don't plug it in, that's fine. You might want to wrap that wire up so it doesn't get caught on things, but there's no harm in not using the lights. Now, just looking at the TRX4 chassis platform, this thing is a TRX4 Sport. So what makes a Sport is that it lacks the 2-speed transmission, so it just has a single-speed transmission in there, and then the differentials in the front and rear cannot be unlocked and locked like the other TRX4 models. Instead, they're just always locked. Now, for our electronics, it's pretty standard. Up front for our servo, it's 2075X, and it does turn the Traxx no problem. At a standstill, they don't turn quite so well, but once the truck starts in motion, it's not an issue. The motor here is the Traxxas 21-turn 550 can size motor. It's the standard motor for the TRX4s. And then our electronic speed control here is the XL5 HV. It's a 2 and 3 cell LiPo compatible speed controller, and again, the same speed controller we see in the other TRX4 models. On all four corners, we have the molded wheel wells, which really add to that scale look once the body is on. We have our adjustable battery brace, so you can fit different size lipos in here. Of course, it will need a Traxxas ID connector. And then on the front and the rear, these body posts are adjustable if you want to change to a different style of body. It's a 312 millimeter wheel-based chassis. Of course, we have C-channel rails going down here. They're steel, and you're gonna find a lot of steel parts on this truck. The transmission inside features steel gears in the front axle. The front CV shafts are gonna be steel, and in the rear, those rear axle shafts are also gonna be steel. And then another really cool feature about the TRX4 platform are the portal axles, and those portal axles also feature steel gears. Now, if we flip over the truck and check out the bottom, in the front we have a 3-link panhard setup because it's a chassis mounted servo, and then in the rear we also have a 4-link setup. These links are also made out of steel to help bring some of that weight to its lowest possible point. We mentioned earlier that the battery position is right here. This is the main battery brace, but you can also use this front section to mount your battery to help put some of that weight up front. Some of the other TRX4 models have this as well. You would essentially need one of the smaller 3-cell packs or something smaller to fit in that size, and then you would just use a Velcro strap to tighten and secure and hold that battery in place. Oh, and I forgot to mention it, but this is the receiver box with our Traxxas receiver inside. This box is waterproof, as well as the rest of the model, so you can drive it through some fresh water. It's not recommended to submerge the model in water though, just like the warning sheet stating. You want to acclimate your truck to the snow because you don't want snow building up and puddling up inside the truck. That's not a good idea. For the transmitter, it's the TQ. So to finish and complete this ready to run, you will need 4 AA batteries for that TQ transmitter, and then that 2 or 3-cell LiPo battery with a Traxxas ID connector. So what's it like to drive this truck with the Traxx on it? Well, it's definitely unique. It's a really interesting experience just to visually see the Traxx moving mechanically over the terrain. Now, since this is the Sport model, it doesn't have a 2-speed transmission, but even if it did, you're not supposed to use the 2nd gear with the Traxx. But in 1st gear, there is a lot of low-end control. The truck overall is relatively slow in the top speed, and it's not meant to go fast. Just for fun, we took it outside and put the radar gun up to it, and the truck isn't fast enough to register a speed, but that's okay. With all that low speed, that means the throttle control on the trigger is really high, so you have a lot of control to just creep the Traxx up and over obstacles. Out on the trail, the tracks are so big and long that there's a lot of contact patch there. There was a spot that just had some really loose dirt. It looked like it was recently rototilled, and it was in a construction area. And unfortunately, we didn't get any video of it, but it was really loose, and the Traxx had no problem through that really loose terrain. There's just such a big contact patch to continually propel it forward. There's a lot of people who are interested in these Traxx. Now, if you've already got a TRX4, you could just buy the set of Traxx and put those on your model. But if you don't have a model or you're looking to get another one, this ready to run is a pretty good deal when comparing buying the Sport ready to run and then buying the Traxx separately. This is not only less expensive than going that route, but you get the enhanced body over the other Sport ready to run with all the molded plastic and scale bits. And then additionally, you also get the light kit that comes pre-installed on the body, as well as the light bar. There may not be a right way to eat a Reese's, but this Sport ready to run with the Traxx included is a pretty good way to go. And if it's something you're interested in, you should take a look at it. It's available in 2 colors, the blue and the orange, and they're both ready to run with the Traxx included and equipped on the truck. If you have any questions for us, please leave it down below in the comments. And if you'd like more information on this TRX4 Sport, we'll have some links down below for you as well. I'm Brett with AMain Hobbies. Thanks for watching.